So a very warm welcome to everyone that is just joining us. Feel free to type yes in the text chat if you can hear me from wherever you're joining from. It's a pleasure to see you in the session today. It's a pleasure. I see Collins, I see Emily, and a few other people. Great to have you in the session. Looking forward to your response to confirm you can hear me. I am looking out for the very first person to type yes in the text chat to confirm they can hear me. It's a pleasure once again to welcome you to this what promises to be very insightful session. Hey, I see the first yes from EMNE. And I see Tarum as well. Great to have you. Where are you guys joining from today? Where in the world are you joining from? I am based in Walderslade in the United Kingdom. Absolutely. Great to have you. Adeboale, great to have you. Great to have you. Okay, let's make it as interactive as can be. Tarum, you're joining from Chicago. Awesome. I was in Chicago last year. Looking forward to being there again this year. Awesome, awesome. So where are other people joining from? Adeboale from Lagos, Nigeria. What is the weather like in Lagos? I bet as hot as ever, perhaps 35 degrees. Okay, what about others? Where are you joining from? Okay, keep it coming. It's a pleasure to have you in the session. Once again, my name is Ayo Adegbiji, and it's a pleasure to be hosting this webinar on navigating the future and opportunities in generative AI. Of course, we're talking about artificial intelligence. And we want it to, of course, there are wide applications across geographies, across industries, across functions, but we're particularly also interested in how that dovetails into emerging economies. So very, very keen on how that dovetails into emerging economies. As you probably might have come across this research by PwC, that artificial intelligence will provide a global economic growth estimated at $15.7 trillion by 2030. In another research and analysis, a bit dated compared to that previous one, it's been said that emerging markets will dominate the world's top 10 economies by 2050. So today's session promises to be insightful and relevant. Artificial intelligence has taken center stage. So it's very topical, very, very contemporary that we're talking about it today. Thank you. So having a little bit of rain in Lagos. And talking about rain, our thoughts are with people in Texas having to deal with hurricane. I believe it's gradually subsiding, but of course, the challenges of that, is still being, navigated. We will be starting in the next few minutes, due to some challenges, but we will be starting shortly. Okay, so let's give it about 5 to 10 minutes and we'll be starting. Whilst that is going on, it will be interesting to know what you're looking forward to. Why have you joined this session? What you're looking forward to the most in a session like this? What attracted you to this topic? What are you looking to glean from this session? Feel free to type that in the text chat. As we continue to encourage everyone to be on mute, so feel free to let us know what you're looking forward to in today's session. What are you looking forward to in today's session? We're keen to hear from you. Feel free to type that. Perhaps you are a subject matter expert yourself and you're looking to also contribute to the conversation. Feel free to let us know. Feel free to type that in the text chat. I'll just pause while. Tarum, thank you very much for that. Looking to learn different perspectives with respect to generative AI and where it is headed. Very good, very good. I'm sure our guest speaker, Dr. Dennis Ong, is very, very set to blow you away with his thoughts, his insights, his perspectives today. He promises to be very insightful, like I said earlier on. So in 3 minutes' time, we will hit the runway. What are other people looking forward to? What are other people looking forward to? Let me see. Who else? Collins, looking forward to what are you looking forward to today? Emeka, what are you looking forward to? Oscar, what are you looking forward to today? We're keen. We're glad you joined the session. We're keen to have your thoughts. Share your thoughts with us.
Everyone hear me?
Oh yes, okay. You've chosen to use the microphone. We can hear you. Go for it.
Yes, I decided to be the scapegoat, but I'm looking forward to really kind of learning about the direction of AI, as you said. A lot of generative AI is what's hot now, and it's being spoken about in a lot of industries. I think sort of learning which direction that's going, and really truly who are going to be the front runners in generative AI in different industries.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for being courageous to speak. Awesome. I'm sure Dr. Dennis Ong has taken note of that. What are other people looking forward to? What are other people looking forward to? Wherever you're joining from, what are you looking forward to? Okay, I believe. Emeka, you're looking forward to learning how to create apps using generative AI. Intriguing, intriguing, very, very intriguing. Awesome. Okay, just before we, turn it over to Dr. Ong, let me just say a few things. Today's initiative is coming by virtue of an organization called VortEdge. So it's our pleasure to partner with VortEdge in bringing you today's program. And VortEdge is a leading technology solutions company dedicated to promoting business and community sustainability. They partner with subject matter experts, global enterprises, and Fortune 500 companies to drive business growth and address unemployment, among the youth, particularly in emerging economies and underserved communities. So today's program is part of their efforts to increase, to empower young people and to help them build successful careers. It's about empowerment. It's about knowledge sharing, and it's part of their quest to have a forum that facilitates quarterly discussions with business leaders focusing on key business topics that impact emerging economies with emphasis on identifying opportunities for partnership and collaboration with stakeholders. So that is a bit of a context to what today's session is about. So thank you once again for joining. And this slide just showcases how you can get in touch with VortEdge. The website is there, and of course, the email address is there. So thank you very much for joining. As I go back, to the topic again, which is navigating the future and opportunities of generative AI in emerging economies, it is my pleasure to introduce the guest speaker for today. The guest speaker for today, like you know, is Dr. Dennis Ong. Is a technology executive with Amazon Web Services, is an AI board advisor with the University of Pennsylvania, is a TEDx speaker, and is co-founder of Leading AI. Himself, myself, and Bayo Adebogun, the CEO of VortEdge, have a connection, shared connection, being part of the Chicago Booth community. I still work and as part of the organization, in addition to other things that I do. Dr. Dennis Ong and Bayo himself are alumni of Chicago Booth Business School. So it's a pleasure to welcome everyone once again. Thank you for all the thoughts you've shared in terms of what you're looking forward to. And it's now my pleasure to turn it over to Dr. Dennis Ong to blow us away with his thoughts, his ideas, and his insights with respect to generative AI. I'm going to stop sharing and turn it over to you, Dr. Dennis Ong. It's a pleasure to have you, Dr. Dennis Ong.
Thank you, Ayu. And thank you also, Bio, for hosting this. And it's my pleasure to be able to share with you on generative AI. So I'm going to share my screen. me share my screen. Let me see.
Did you ever wonder how Toys R Us and Jeffrey...
Let me make sure show first. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Dennis.
Okay, and thank you very much for the opportunity to share. And today I'm going to share about the generative AI. And I heard about some of you guys talking about maybe what is generative AI and also the opportunities. So today I'm going to share with you opportunities and challenges. So before I start, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I was fortunate to be a test speaker for 2 times, and one time I was talking about AI. And currently I work for AWS, and I work with Fortune 100 companies on how AI, especially GenAI, can help them to innovate. There are many proof of concepts right now, and some of them are going to production. It's very, very exciting time. And before that, I work for Verizon. I lead their 5G AI research team and demonstrated the world's first 5G AI autonomous vehicle with Honda Research Institute. And I'm also working with different universities like University of Pennsylvania and MIT on different areas like AI and also in 5G. So this is a little bit my background. Basically, I love to share, I love to learn, and I hope that this is this forum or this seminar is a good way for all of us to learn together. So for today, I'm going to go over basically 7 different areas. I'm going to basically, I would say, go over this in about 40 minutes, 45 minutes, and then we'll have some time for Q&A. So basically what I want to do is talk about AI and also what are the interesting applications that companies are considering, and also the risk. The risk is very important. We need to understand what the risk, and also how do we address them. And also how do we look at GenAI? We call GenAI as co-pilot. And how do we innovate with GenAI? The last is that when we look at AI, we have to look at we have to think about from the company and from the government perspective, what are the policies that we need to govern AI. So what is AI and GenAI? And I think about 30 years ago, AI has been with us like since 1940s. So there are different kinds of AIs. And about 30, 40 years ago, there was one kind of AI called expert system, which was actually fairly popular. But the name of it, expert system, is really to capture the expertise of human into the computer. For example, in IBM, they developed a Deep Blue computer and beat the best chess player in the world in 1997. So basically, it captured basically all the steps that have to play the chess and be able to be the best in the world. About 15 years later, they basically created IBM Watson, and then be able to win that a $1 million prize. Watson is more like a game that you basically answer questions. But the problem with expert system is that it's very tedious to program, and at the same time, it's only tailored for one task. So maybe expert system was kind of like popular for about 5-10 years, but then it died down because it's not very useful. And then there was another approach, which is thinking more about human being, how we learn. So in our brain, we have billions and billions of neurons that we learn that we basically be able to kind of quote unquote program them when we see things, when we touch things, right? So scientists and AI developers have been thinking, can we basically learn how humans learn? So it's called neural network. So for neural network, the structure is like this. You have input layer, which could be your senses, right? Your 5 senses, your eyes, your ears, your touch. And then there are hidden layers. Those are layers that basically provide the programming, right? Quote unquote programming behind it. And the output layer could be, for example, like how you react to it. So there are some terms that we have to understand. One term is called parameter, and one is called neuron, right? Neuron is the one that basically constitute the basic element of the neural network. And the parameter is the connection among the neurons, between the neurons. And so for ChatGPT or GPT 4.0, it has about 1.7 trillion of those parameters. Because one neuron can connect to multiple neurons, right? So approximately that has probably 1 to 2 trillion parameters or connections. For a human being, there are 86 billion neurons with probably about 1 trillion connections or parameter. So if you look at our largest maybe model, AI model, is still much smaller than our brain, our human brain. So it's just amazing how human being is. So how AI produces result? So if I ask how many days in a year, if I go to an expert system, it's programmed somewhere. This 365 is somewhere that I can locate. For neural network, it's different. Neural network is that when we train them, they have like billions and trillions of connections. So we really cannot find the number 365. It's embedded, quote unquote, embedded in those connections, or maybe millions of connections that constitute 365. And that's a term called generative AI, right? That we are familiar with, or now familiar with. But before we have generative AI, we have AI. And I use the term discriminative AI. So what's the difference? For example, like if you want to discriminate who this person is, you basically send this through the discriminative AI, and then it will tell you it's Yoda. And then for generative AI, you say, I want to create this picture, an image of Yoda, and this generative AI will create it. So that's the difference between discriminative AI and generative AI. So discriminative AI is more like you have a camera, you have a camcorder, and they will be able to distinguish whether this is a pedestrian, this is a bicycle, or this is a car, right? But for generative AI, you can generate something new. So that's why I think people are very excited about generative AI, because hopefully it can create something new and useful. There are many facets of generative AI. Right now, I think when we use ChatGPT or the pod, it's mostly text. But the thing is actually you can train the model with text, images, audio, and video. So it doesn't have to be just text. It can be multimodal. So after you train the generative AI model, and then you can use that for Q&A to generate new image, to generate new video clip, or new audio clip. So let me give you an example of how ChatGPT is being created. First of all, the latest model of GPT 4.0 is basically trained on Microsoft Azure. We don't know exactly how many GPUs, but according to some of the news, it's probably trained on more than 10,000 GPUs, probably 10 or 20,000 GPUs plus 250,000 CPUs. So massive amount of GPUs and CPUs. And then the data it was trained on is images, audio, and text. So basically this training could go on for months on this massive amount of compute. So it could cost tens of millions of dollars just to basically create this GPT 4.0. And the data set is current April 2024. So once the model is created, so basically that is set, right? I mean, and then you basically deploy that, and you deploy that. Before you deploy it, there's something called reinforcement learning human feedback. So you have some human being, you have hundreds of human beings that basically do the training, what we call reinforcement learning. It will keep asking questions about this GPT 4.0, because, for example, like if you ask GPT 4.0, basically say, can I build a bomb? GPT 4.0 will say, yeah, I can, because in the internet, there are information on how I build a bomb. But this reinforcement learning, human feedback, there are policies for the human being. Basically say, if people ask the question, if you can build a bomb, your answer should be, no, I cannot. This is not legal, or I cannot do that. I'm a ChatGPT. So basically, what this human being are doing is to provide feedback to this GPT 4.0. Once the training is completed, then that is a ChatGPT. Then that is deployed. So you can ask questions, you can ask it to create new image. And if it doesn't have the information, for example, like if you want to ask, what is the score of the Euro 2024 soccer game? It really doesn't have it, right? Because the GPT was trained with the data set current up to April only. So what it will do is that it will go to internet and basically search for results. So if the GPT doesn't have the information, it will go to the internet and search for the result. So that is how ChatGPT works right now. And then let's go to talk about the applications. What are the applications that we're thinking about, that people are thinking about? So let me show you a clip.
Hi, Amika. How are you?
Hello, I am doing well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I wanted to ask you about applications for humanoid robots. What are they used for?
There are many possible applications for humanoid robots. Some examples include helping people with disabilities, providing assistance in hazardous environments, conducting research, and acting as a companion.
So you can act as a companion for me?
Yes, I can act as a companion for you.
What would you do to make me feel happy?
There are many things I could do to make you feel happy. I could listen to you, offer advice or support, do something you enjoy together, or simply be a friendly and positive presence in your life.
Yeah, this is actually an interesting video. This company is based in UK, in London, and then so this robot actually was powered by a GPT 3.5, the previous version of GPT, and it's interactive. So that's why there's a delay. But I think you can see that there's a lot of potential for this technology. And in terms of the application, let me go to the next slide. Okay, if you look at that, basically there are many different kind of applications, right? Depending on what mode you are on. You can be on text, code, image, speech, video, right? You can generate coding, you can generate image, you can basically create even video, right? So the possibilities are huge, right? I work for, AWS, right? I work with different companies, Fortune 100 companies, and many of those companies are investigating what they can do with generative AI. And for example, in marketing, I'll show you a clip. So this ad was created by a combination of film, 3D, and stable diffusion. So it's not only by generative AI, but it's a combination. So, for example, if you're marketing, definitely Gen AI will be part of the technology that you'll use in the future. And then for coding, right? For example, for developers, for software developers, they can use this tool to develop code. For example, like on the bottom left, you will see I ask Gen AI to say, write a function to validate an email. So it's thinking and generating a function. And then I ask another question, can you write that in a different language in a JavaScript? So I think in the future also, developers basically will use this technology to help them to develop code and also for testing. And I'm going to spend a little bit more time on risk, because I think risks are the ones that I think we have to address. And there are actually a lot of opportunities for us to address this risk. So there are, I think, basically 7 areas which are the most, I think, prevalent in terms of risk. The first one is poorly understood. For example, GPT-4, right? It has 1.7 trillion parameters. If we get a result from this GenAI model, it's difficult for us to pinpoint where I would say, why it came up with this particular output. So if we don't know something, then probably we're concerned, right? We don't know why it produces the result, right? Because it's so complex. The second is data privacy. When we enter information into the system, into ChatGPT or these systems, we're concerned that, oh wow, would our data be leaked to other people? For example, like if we use the company's proprietary information to train the model, would those information that I've used to train the model be leaked, right, as an output? So that's an issue, right? You want to protect your IP information. The third is something called hallucination. Hallucination means that the AI model thinks that it's correct, but it's not. For example, if I ask the question, why Geoffrey Hinton couldn't win the Turing Award? Turing Award is actually like a Nobel Prize in computer science. And Geoffrey Hinton actually won this Turing Award about 5 years ago. But depending on how I put in the prompt or input, GenAI may give me an answer that says, oh, this Geoffrey Hinton is just not good enough to win the Turing Award. So I think the problem with sometimes GenAI is that it hallucinates. It doesn't know what it doesn't know. Bias. Because GenAI is being trained with data, and those data could be biased. For example, if I type the word scientist and I want to generate some images, it's white people and Asian, right? We don't want to propagate prejudiced information, right? Biased information. Job loss. There are a lot of concern about job loss, right? This is a study by Accenture, is that 40% of working hours across industries will be impacted by GenAI. It doesn't mean that those jobs will be displaced, but those will be impacted. So a lot of concern about whether I can keep my job, right? Misinformation. I think this year there are like, I think probably half the world have elections this year. So a lot of websites and social media basically provide false information. For example, on the right-hand side, the former prime minister, those are fake pictures, like the background are all fake. Copyrights. Just a few weeks ago, some large record companies like Sony, Warner Brothers, they sued two startups, AI startups, Suno and Udio, because they claim that these two startups basically use their songs to produce new songs without paying them. So there are many of these issues that we're facing. And how do we address these issues? So I'm going to share with you some of the, I would say, new technologies that hopefully can help us. Some recent advances. Okay. One of them is we can customize the GenAI models. There are basically 4 approaches. And then the first one is called prompt engineering. Prompt is the input to the model. For example, like depending on how you write a prompt or input, your result could vastly be different. That's prompt engineering. The other one is called retrieval augmented generation. This is really a big, some of this big word, but it's more like automated prompt engineering. The RAG is more like automated prompt engineering. I'll talk more about this. And the third is fine-tuning and continuous pre-training. The first two, you don't change the model. The third one, fine-tuning and continuous pre-training, you basically change the model. You basically change a little bit to fit your need. The last one is basically train your model from scratch. Very few companies will train the model from scratch because it's just very costly. So most people are focusing on the first 3. So I'm going to talk a little bit more. The first one is prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is basically, for example, in this particular example, what you do is that you provide some instruction first. So you say that, if you are doing this, like this is more like customer service, a chatbot. You basically say, who is this person? This person is an IT expert. And then provide answer in a friendly tone. The context is that you basically work in a technology company. And the user input is that, how can I fix my phone? And then there's output indicator. So what you do is that you provide some instruction and context first to the GenAI system or the chatbot, so that you basically provide some kind of example or some kind of, so that you basically help the GenAI to be more, I would say, suited for this job. So prompt engineering, there are different techniques. Something called like zero shot. Zero shot is that, so I ask a question, you provide output. This is most primitive. Few shots is that you provide some examples. For example, like, how do you fix my iPhone? At the same time, I may provide some examples. Oh, that's how some people will do it. And then it will help the LLM is a GenAI model for the output. And the other one is chain of thought. For example, if you want to solve a math problem, you may want to provide an example how people have solved this problem. Maybe a kind of like example how people will reason it. Okay, so this is prompt engineering. The problem with prompt engineering is that you require the user to know, right? To be better at the input, which is difficult, right? You want the user to be anyone, right? You don't want the user to be an expert. So to automate this approach, we go with retrieval augmented generation, RAG. This approach is that there's a prompt coming in, an input coming in. I ask a question, how do I fix my iPhone? What it will do is that it will go into some knowledge sources or databases. This could be your company's IP information. For example, like if you're an automotive company and somebody say, oh, my car has some problem, right? I have a light that turns on. How do I fix it? So it may go to some of the user manual that you have that belongs to a company. It will go there, the computer will go there first to get the information. What it does is that it will get the information back first. Oh, in page 26 of that manual, it tells you that that light may be transmission problem. What it does is that it will automatically augment the prompt with that content and then go into the large language model and then come with the feedback. So the user actually doesn't even know that the computer itself that it types in goes into some external databases or some your databases in your company and get some information first. This is automated. The user doesn't even know. So this is RAG. This is actually very useful because most companies all have their own IP, intellectual property, right? It could be documents, it could be conference pages, and then you can basically be able to use that information to help to improve the prompt. The first two, prompt engineering and the RAG, they don't change the model. You basically use the same model. The third one, called fine-tuning and continuous pre-training, you actually change the model. You have to change the model. So some models out there, you cannot change. Some models you can. So if you look at some of the models out there, you have to look at the spec to see whether they can be fine-tuned or not. Fine-tuning means that you can actually use some of your data, label data. For example, like, how do I fix my iPhone? You say, oh, fix my iPhone. I can do this. I can maybe reboot it. I can do all this, right? You basically use this, and then you basically use that to train the model. The data that you need doesn't have to be very big. It can be like maybe 100 kilobyte, whatever. It doesn't have big. You basically tune the model to your specific need. The good thing about this is that once you tune the model to your need, you don't have to go to an external database, right? Like on the RAG. You basically can use the model as is. The other one is called continued pre-training. As I mentioned before, for the ChatGPT, the data was trained up to April 2024, right? If you want to train for new data, right? You basically can be trained for unlabeled data. That's how we train the GenAI system. You don't need labeled data, right? You use unlabeled data, but you continue to train it so that it has more updated information. For example, if your company has a lot of new information coming in, and then you want the model to have the latest one, you basically may think about using continued pre-training. For example, if you're a news organization and you want your, for example, chatbot or whatever to have the latest information, right? Because you are a news company, you want your information, your chatbot to be very updated. Then you may want to do continued pre-training. But those two, you actually change the model itself. Another is something called AI agent. There's a very famous kind of like model called LangChain. There are actually other models, but LangChain is actually very, a lot of people use it. So what you do is that for the GenAI model, basically you ask a question, so you get something back, right? But if you are, for example, like a travel agent, not only you want to talk to the customer, you want to do something. For example, you want to book a flight. The language model cannot book a flight for you. So what you do is that you basically create like agent, like a person, right? Like a robotic person. Basically, for example, like you could have a conversation with that person or with the customer using the large language model, and then you could have a program that basically help to book a flight, right? But that is not large language model. That's part of the agent. So, for example, in here, an example of a LangChain. For example, when is this year's holiday marking the end of Ramadan? So what you do is that you have an agent. So basically what you do is that you have a chain. Basically you have a chatbot agent that basically talks to the user, right? And in step number 2, you basically go into a chain. That chain, the first step is basically what you do is that you go to the web and get the holiday name. Like supposedly that your chatbot is kind of stupid. It doesn't know that. And then what it does is that it will go to maybe some kind of external database to get information. And then it will return back like the date. So what you do is that you actually have a chatbot agent at the very upfront, and then you have some programs that you do. You may go somewhere, some different places to get different information and then return the information. So this AI agent is actually very powerful in a way because it can do things that the large language models cannot do. For example, in this case, it will go to a website somewhere. It can go to a database somewhere to get information first, and then return that back into the chatbot in step number 10. So AI agent is a way for you to be more like be an agent, not only like a language model. So those are kind of like some of the examples. And one more is that copyrights. We talk about copyrights infringement, right? Is that actually at the University of Chicago, there is a scientist, a professor called Ben Zhao, and his team created something called Glaze. Glaze is a very interesting technology. For example, if I were an artist and then I publish my work in the internet, some people use that and then they basically create artwork based on mine, right? I have no way to protect myself, right? And then what I can do is that I can use this software. This software is totally free, and I can scan my artwork. And then I have something called clocked artwork. This clocked artwork, when human eyes, it's the same. But what it does is that it actually changes some of the vectors into the artwork. So I can publish not my original artwork on the internet, but my clocked artwork in the internet. When people look at it, it's the same as the original one. But when, for example, the hacker, when they scan my artwork, it will basically mess up their model. And when they're trying to produce something similar to mine, it won't be able to mimic my artwork. So it's actually a very intelligent way to basically change the artwork, which human being cannot detect, but the model will. This is something called Glaze. Actually, you can try that out. It's free. And then the other one is misinformation. For example, like this year, there will be a lot of elections, right? So how do we, for example, help with misinformation? For example, like this particular news, right? Talking about this Dr. Anthony Fauci, right? And then what you can do is that you can actually, when someone posts this via video, right? This may be fake video. And then what social media or maybe YouTube or other can do is that they can basically provide maybe commentary about whether this video is correct or not. So you basically provide some commentary on maybe social media or maybe some new website, basically say that whether this particular video is correct or not. So those are the ways I think we can address it. But definitely, I mean, startups and big companies are trying to address all these issues. So let me go to another topic about GenAI as Copilot. Some people say, oh, is GenAI like AGI, for example? Like AGI means that it's more like a human, right? It can take over all the jobs. So a lot of, if you look at like news, there are two spectrum, right? One spectrum is like, oh, AI is still fairly stupid. It can do limited things. But the other spectrum is that, oh, wow, AI is going to take over all the jobs. All of us will be left without jobs, and we need minimum income, right, from the government for us to survive. I think the way we look at it is that GenAI, and this is the way I look at it, is a copilot. So what does that mean? Copilot means that this by extension, but copilot means that AI will be helping us. It's like flying a plane. The pilot is human, is flying the plane, and AI is helping the human to fly the plane. That's how, at least for the foreseeable future, how I see it. I'll give you an example. Recently, I think in the last few weeks, Toy Us has an ad. I'm going to generate it 100% by OpenAI. Sorry. Let's watch this this ad. This 1 minute.
Did you ever wonder how Toys R Us and Jeffrey the Giraffe came to be? The son of a bike shop owner, Charles Lazarus, had a vision that would go on to change toy stores forever.
The greatest toy store there is. I don't wanna grow up, 'cause maybe if I did, I wouldn't be a Toys R Us.
Toys R Us was the dream of Charles Lazarus. May all of your dreams come true
This is
too.
an interesting ad. Couple of things. And the reason why I'm saying that GenAI is a copilot, about 20 people work on this for a few weeks, or I don't know, a few months, with heavy prompting and editing. That means that almost every scene, the people have to basically provide a long list what that scene is about. So it's not like the GenAI just create this, right, with one sentence, right? A lot of prompt editing. And also some of the objects in there, for example, toys, are 3D objects that are inserted. Those are not generated by GenAI. And if you look at that, actually, if you look at the video, you won't be able to see that the spellings were incorrect. But actually, almost all the spellings were incorrect and have to be updated with processing. The reason why the spelling are incorrect because for video GenAI, they don't understand word at all. It's not large language model. That's why for example, here you will see the bicycle repair is totally wrong. And they have something called shot ratio. That means that you have to create that many times before actually one of the video is good. Some of them you have to do it 70 times, or some are more, some are less, right? So right now, GenAI, I think in the near future or foreseeable future, GenAI is a good tool. It's definitely a good tool, but it's not going to replace us because we need a lot of human input, either in the pre-processing, in the prompting, and also post-processing. And for example, here, Oxford University has done a study, is that the thing is AI is going to be important combined with our skill, right? If you're a marketer, if you're a lawyer, I mean, your skill set is very important. But AI, hopefully, is going to improve. For example, like if you are like a doctor, right? Or ophthalmologist or radiologist, right? Definitely AI is going to help, right? Be able to scan, for example, the iris or whatever, right? To be able to make you more efficient. But it's not going to take away your job. Because I don't think anyone is going to be comfortable, right? Letting AI just to determine your health, right? Or to determine whether you need a surgery or not. And World Economic Forum, I think most of you are familiar with, has a future of jobs report. Every year, I think it's trying to understand what's the future of jobs will look like. So it's trying to understand the skill set needed in the next 5 years. Let's survey hundreds of companies and across different industries. If you look at it, the top two actually haven't changed. This ranking difference is that they basically look at what they have predicted now and before. Analytical thinking and creative thinking haven't changed. It's number 1 and 2. Definitely AI has changed. Plus 12 of them is that it moved up a lot. But if you look at it, analytical thinking and creative thinking, for example, if you look at the ad, right? Creative thinking is very important, right? Creating the ad, right? So I think for us, it's still very, very important for us to be good at our job and be able to be good in our analytical thinking and creative thinking. Definitely, we need to also be able to use AI and big data. So how do we innovate with AI, GenAI? I mean, there are many ways to do it, right? And then I'm going to introduce a tool. This is the one that AWS provides for free. It's called PartyRock. There are many tools out there, but I'm just going to use this one. And you can scan this QR code and be able to use it. And this is actually for everyone. You don't need any technical background at all. I'm going to give you an example. This PartyRock. What you do is actually you can create an app in no time. For example, here, this is the front page. For example, you can build your own app. And then what I do is that, and then you can describe what kind of app you want to build. For example, I want to build a virtual restaurant guide for London, a restaurant guide. And then you basically generate, and it will be able to generate the Dine London for you. And then on the third slide, I say, oh, I want to basically see, is there any Cantonese food in London? And what it does is that it will basically generate like this different restaurants, Rogue, China, Phoenix, Palace, and it will give you like where they are. And actually, when you try to generate this, you can actually pick your own model. You can pick Claude 3, Haiku, Sonnet, and Titan, different model. And then on the right-hand side, you can even publish it. If you scan the QR code, you actually go to my app. So this is really a fun application that you can create. For example, like if you are in different business, right? For example, banking, whatever, right? You can use this app just to play around, right? So I think it's important for us to be somewhat familiar with what this technology can do. And then I'm going to company policy. So I think when we work with different companies, right, they are thinking about, oh, how do I use AI, right? So I think that's very important is that for your company, it's very important that you have a company-wide AI policy. but different departments. For example, you may have IT departments, you have legal departments, you got marketing departments, HR departments, right? Each department may have their own need of AI or GenAI. I think it's very important that you have a policy that works across all different departments. Yeah, right? Because you really cannot just have an HR department that dictate the AI policy, right? Or the IT department, because the concern, the needs, the issues are quite different. And some companies actually now provides indemnification. For example, if you use the product to generate, for example, like different output, they will be able to indemnify it. For example, if someone sue you, right? If you generate some output, say, oh, okay, you violate my copyright. Some companies are actually willing to indemnify or protect you. So actually, when you use the models, you may want to check the legal, right? The legal wording of those GenAI models. And in terms of government policy, there are different government policy. And I think in the US, President Biden issued like an executive order, actually late last year. But this executive order basically only applies to government agencies. It really doesn't, it has no legal, companies have no legal obligation to follow this executive order. And so it basically, this executive policy have different basically principles: security, safety, privacy, civil rights, and supporting workers, all this stuff. The Europe is quite different. I think all of you are probably familiar with GDPR. And actually, this GDPR is not, it's really just general data. And they have been working on this for many years for AI. It's not really specific to AI. So they have basically 4 different tiers. And then depending on what tier you have, for example, like you cannot use AI or GenAI for facial recognition. It's against the law. So this is not like executive order in the US. In the EU, it's law. So EU actually has a stricter regulation on AI than the US. Okay, I finished this. I want to basically go over this in 40 minutes, and then we can have some time for Q&A. And I welcome everyone to turn on the video, and we can have a good conversation.
Awesome, awesome. Do I hear you give Dr. Ong a round of applause, whether it is actual or virtual, for that wealth of insight? Yes, I see that coming from different people: Emeka, Adeboale, Kenny. Awesome, awesome. Okay, to kickstart the Q&A, there are a couple of questions already existing in the text chat. I'm going to make reference to that, and then other people are welcome to raise their hands if they want to use the microphone. They're welcome to raise their hands, and then in turns, I will be able to take that. Let's start with the question from EMNE. There's a question from EMNE, and I believe that is the question. Just trying to pick that out, wondering if that's the one you've made reference to there, Bayo. There's a question there about why can't a long chain be implemented in LAM? I wondered if Dr. Ong wants to take that first. Why can't a long chain be implemented in LAM? Thank you.
What is LAM? I don't even know what's LLM. Is it LLM or LAN?
So let me bring that up. So was it you, Emily, that asked that question? Do you want to clarify that? Or was it
I was calling to ask the question. So in the LangChain and the large action model, because it seems like
LLM.
it's
The thing is actually, if you look at LangChain is more in terms of agents. So you have a chain of actions, right? So some of them will be using LLM. So you won't be, I mean, typically you don't want to basically do this, because large language model is specific, for example, like be able to support chatbot and all this conversation. But sometimes you would, for example, you want to go out, for example, like to book a flight. That will not be part of the LLM. So that's why you have LangChain, because LangChain is much more flexible, because LLM is specifically trained for a particular purpose, right? For example, if you want to Q&A, sentiment analysis, right? So that's why, that's the reason.
Awesome. Happy with that, Collins?
Yes, thank you very much, Dr. Ong.
You're welcome.
Okay. So the next question, this is by E. And it says, I'm curious about the speaker's perspective on a few things. Number one, open versus closed source models. Number two, LLMs and generative AI as an off-ramp to AGI. Number three, the $600 billion AI revenue gap. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah, the first one is that, let me see. The first one is, let me see. What's the first one? First one is,
Guys, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
okay.
Yeah,
Open and
I'm
close.
happy to. I'm happy to add. I need to jump here in about a minute. I have a conflict coming up, but just to add more context to those questions. The first one relates to the different approaches to building models. You know, there are the closed source models by the likes of OpenAI and Google to some degree, and then there are the open source versions that benefit from I guess, the fundamental benefits of open source, efforts, right? So you have the likes of like Facebook's Llama 3 model and the likes of those. So I'm curious as to what the speakers' perspectives are on which of those two models are most likely to succeed. Maybe there's a world in which both succeed. And then the other one, I'll touch on the third one. I think the second one is kind of self-explanatory. The third one has to do with the revenue gap in Gen AI as things stand. So I think by year end, NVIDIA, who's the leader in the space, is projected to end the year at 150 billion in revenue, and all of that stuff goes towards GPU clusters for the hyperscalers, Facebook and like. And so if you tag on another like 50% or like 100%, so another 150 million for cooling, generating power and securing those data centers. So you have another 300 billion. And then if you tag on like another 50% margin, you have, another 300 million, so 600 million. So that back of the envelope math would suggest that $600 million and $1 billion in revenue will need to be generated for the current spend rates in AI to be justified on the application layer. So any kind of insight and clarity you can provide to that would be helpful. I have to jump. Sorry for taking all the time. See you guys. Bye.
Sure. And I think in terms of the open and closed source model, I think if you are basically a user, basically quote unquote a user, I would say that most people will basically go with the closed source model because they don't care, right? All they care is that how much it costs. And then because the closed source models, there are many of them, right? You can pick from. But if you are trying to basically develop your own means that you want to fine tune. You want to basically, maybe you get a Meta Llama 3, and then you say that, okay, I would like to customize that for my own specific purpose. And then you may want to use the open source, right? Depending on who you are. If you are just pure user or potential user, probably you don't care. But you may want to go with the closed source because sometimes the closed source, you may get the support from the large companies, right? Or the startups, right? You get the support. But if you are more technical savvy and your applications are very specific, you may want to open source. The second one is about the 600 billion AI revenue gap. The way I look is that right now we are in the investment stage, right? It's like 5G, right? The same. At some stage in time, that you have to invest, right? Like any companies, right? Initially, you have to invest millions of dollars. You have zero revenue, right? And then hopefully you are able to grow your business and be able to generate revenue, right? So I think right now we are still in the investment stage for a lot of the GenAI, even this year and next year, a lot of POCs and very few deployment. So I would say this year, you won't say that, the 600 billion AI revenue gap definitely is there because we're in the investment phase of this technology.
Awesome. Just checking. Okay, so additional context there. Yes, so great. Thank you very much, Dr. Ong, for the responses, and thank you to those of you who've provided your thoughts, questions, and comments thus far. We continue to welcome questions, comments, contributions, insights from others. Feel free to share that using the text chat, or If you're brave, feel free to signify and we'll call you up to use the microphone.
Yeah, I think it's good to, I mean, since you guys attend, I would like to hear from you about any questions or concerns or maybe feedback from you. So, yeah.
Absolutely. Bring it on.
I had a question, Dr. Ong, and thank you very much. As I think about AI, and where it's going and how much is advanced in the recent years, I would love to hear your perspective on what are you afraid of where AI could go? What gives you pause in terms of the acceleration of AI?
Definitely, I think a couple of areas I'm concerned. Definitely misinformation is a big one. I think you heard every day on the news that people kind of like misrepresent themselves to be the grandma or parents, right? And scam people's money. And also with the election going on, it's going to go on in many different places. Definitely misinformation will be a big part of it. The second, I think definitely is job loss, right? Job loss. And so I think we definitely want to protect people's intellectual property, the way I look at it, right? Because you want artists and artists, right, to be able to preserve their IP, right? So those are, I mean, those are some of the near-term issue. But definitely people are concerned about AGI. I'm less concerned about that. And because of my experiences with technology, I was working with autonomous vehicle in Verizon for many years, for quite a few years. At that time in 2018, people predicted we don't need to drive now. And then there will be no truck driver, right? We still need 500,000 truck drivers, right? So I'm less concerned about the AGI. I think this technology, to be honest, I think people sometimes overestimate because they project what they see now with the chatbot. They think that the chatbot can do million things in the future, right? In 5 years. I'm thinking that actually, as we learn about this technology will be able to do some things very good, some of the things very bad. So that I'm less concerned. Yeah, I'm more concerned about misinformation and also with copyrights. I think those are more immediate concerns. That basically, to be honest, many companies are hesitating or they are kind of like slowing the effort because of this, right? They want to make sure that they protect the reputation of the company. They don't want to, for example, like produce, for example, if you are like a record company and you produce something, right, with GenAI, some people may sue you, right? And then you don't want that, right? You hurt your reputation. So a lot of those, I think the copyrights and the misinformation, those are the more, at least from my look at it, those are the ones that are difficult to address. It takes time to address them. For example, like pronunciation, those I think we can solve with RAG and fine tuning. Those are more technology problem. Technology problem, I think it's easy to solve, right? Policy problem, regulations, those are much less because you need society to buy in. It's not only you, right? So I think those are the issues that are probably will need, but basically society to understand how we should accommodate, how we should use AI, right? Those are more difficult questions to ask or to answer.
Thank you.